Andrea, the lady, I'm from Joplin, is interesting. I just started Googling up on the internet and found her, started talking to her, talking about 45 minutes. And this is about a $500 to $600 million market. And no one's taking advantage of it. If we could take advantage of them, leapfrog everybody else, and get the way to grow this thing, so you get in everybody's hands, and not just a few doing a few things like that. In the country, we call it a bird nest on the ground. That's like a bird nest, and a snake come along and eats all the easy birds, easy pickings. That's what it is, be easy pickings, because there's no competition. Once these cottage industries get set up, they're not going to move anymore. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad you guys are looking at this bill, and there's some real thought on moving it, because if we don't, we're going to be showing me again, and everybody's going to be showing us that we're not doing anything. So I appreciate what you're doing, and if anybody has a question, I will tell you one thing. There is a beer out there called Hemp, Hop, and Rye. Just to plug the company, it's made by O'Fallon, and it's just a pretty damn good beer. So thank you.
Sir, I like you a lot.
I have not spoken much up here either.
I like it. I know Grant. Further witnesses.
My name is Dan Beats. I'm an attorney. I've practiced law throughout the state of Missouri from my office in Columbia for the past 30 years. But I grew up surrounded by hemp. Grew up in the northwest corner of the state of Missouri, and my father's small farm up there, and every fence row and every uncultivated space on that little farm, hemp grew, because it is a hardy crop. You can't stop it from growing in the state of Missouri, especially along the areas near the Missouri River. The fact is that hemp, as defined in this bill, below a 0.3 of 1% THC content, is absolutely worthless for smoking. But it has incredible value in an amazing variety of other applications. Clothing, food, fuel, paper, building materials are just some of the applications, just some of the uses that hemp has and has had throughout the history of Western civilization, in fact. But we deprived ourselves of an important commodity when we outlawed all forms of cannabis back in the 1920s and 30s. Many states are starting to wake up to the fact that there is an incredible potential here that is just waiting to be exploited. Congress has already acted to encourage the states to engage in exactly what our federal system is supposed to be, a crucible of experimentation. Other states are moving ahead of us. In fact, if we don't move quickly, we will lose the competitive advantage. Hemp cultivation, far from encouraging marijuana cultivation, is the antithesis of marijuana cultivation. People who grow marijuana don't want those plants to be fertilized. So-called sinsemilla, that is, plants who are not fertilized, create the most high-potency THC. If you've got a hemp farm going on, you can't stop those plants from being fertilized. They will not create high THC marijuana. But fortunately, the THC content is irrelevant to most of the industrial uses. One of the best places to learn about the history of hemp in our state is Lexington. Lexington, Missouri, where the Battle of the Hemp Bales took place in September of 1861, has a wonderful museum dedicated to educating Missourians about the important role that hemp played in the history of this state as late as the late 1800s. In fact, we were instrumental in providing some hemp to that museum, which is now on display, but we had to import that from China because, of course, it's illegal to grow hemp here in Missouri, where the Battle of the Hemp Bales took place. Hempcrete is a product which has amazing potential. And actually, it was as recently as World War II, not just the Civil War or World War I, but as recent as World War II, that our government actively encouraged all farmers throughout the Midwest to cultivate as much hemp as possible. And I refer you to a film which is readily available on YouTube called Hemp for Victory. It's about a 20-minute little synopsis of the history of hemp in our culture and civilization. And it was produced by the United States government in about 1941, exactly for that reason, to encourage farmers to grow as much hemp as they possibly could after our source of fiber, primarily in the Philippines, was lost to the Japanese early in the war. The fact is that Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and as of today, Alaska, have legalized large-scale industrial and agricultural cultivation of hemp. Fortunately, none of those states have the climate and soil that we have, and we can leapfrog ahead of those states if we act quickly, and I urge you to support and pass out House Bill 800. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Questions for the witness? Representative Hanson.
Just to inquire,
Proceed.
is hemp, how's it harvested? Is it cut and baled like you would hay?
Yes, it is now. One of the reasons why hemp fell out of favor after the Civil War is because it was a very highly labor-intensive crop. It took hand labor to cut those stalks, to beat the herd out of the stalk. But ironically, just about the time that hemp was outlawed is the time the mechanism was invented to relieve that labor, to be able to harvest and bale hemp, just as alfalfa is.
So you bale it and transport it just like you would a big bale of hay?
Yes. Yes.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Further wish to speak in favor of House Bill 830.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee. My name is Chris Beadle, and I've been in the agricultural community pretty much all my life. I've worked with some of the largest cattle producers in the state. I own a welding business that caters to agricultural community. I'm here today to talk to you about what hemp can do for the state of Missouri and the farmers of Missouri. Hemp is a great product for Missouri to grow. Hemp doesn't require many herbicides and can be harvested up to 3 times a year. Hemp can also replenish damaged soils. According to the Dutch Daily News out of the Netherlands, hemp has been used in cattle feed over in Europe for several years now. The outcome was the cows gave more milk and digested their food more efficiently. The high oil content and fatty acids help the animals utilize more of their feed. Hemp is a substitute for many unsustainable products such as non-organic cotton, which uses more than 25% of the world's insecticides and 10% of pesticides. The Colorado Springs Business Journal states that America is the only industrialized nation in the world that prohibits the commercial production of hemp, despite the fact that more hemp fiber, seed, and oil are imported by the U.S. than any other country. The U.S. imported over $500 million worth of hemp last year, of some of that money which could be kept in our home state. Colorado has posted the economics of hemp in Colorado for 2015, and the cultivation of 170,000 acres a year, which is less than 5% of the land that is currently in corn and wheat production, would have a net worth of $87 million if hemp was to be grown. This is a missed opportunity for the businessmen and women of Missouri. As feed costs increase, we need to lower our intake costs in feeding livestock to produce a better product at a very reasonable rate for the people of our state. Governor Nixon in January held a Beast Summit conference in Columbia and talked about bringing a meat processing plant to the state of Missouri. Missouri is number 2 in the United States for cow-calf production, but number 9 in beef production. In this conference, Governor Nixon talked about keeping cattle in the state to finish instead of sending them to other states. To do that, we need to lower intake costs, and I believe hemp can help by providing a low-cost supplement feed. There are over 25,000 uses for hemp. Missouri used to be second largest hemp producing state in the United States. Kentucky, formerly the number 1 in hemp producing, has jumped on board, and I believe that Missouri should strike while the iron's hot.
Thank you, sir. Any
Thank
questions
you.
for the witness? Seeing none. Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of House Bill 830?
I'll be brief. Most of what I was going to say has already been covered. My name is Jim Tabor, and my grandfather started a business in 1936 down in Henrietta, Missouri. So this is right near Richmond, in the Lexington area. So I'm very aware of the battle of hemp bales. Know all about it. The levees down there are all covered with hemp, everywhere. And you can't get high on it. It won't work. So, yeah. Yeah, in my younger days, you know. So, I want to tell you about my family business because my grandfather used hemp in some of the production of some of the products that we made in '36. And we can't use we can't use hemp now. I imported some hemp samples from Canada, and put it in some of our sealant products, and it'll work better than anything else we've ever tried before. The main reason is because hemp is extremely fibrous. The fibers coming off of it, if you look at it under a microscope, you're going to see tons of fibers going all different directions, where if you look at cellulose, there's a few fibers. Cotton's the best, but it's really difficult to work with because it clings together so well. So in our manufacturing process, if we had a hemp fibers available, we could start using it today. And I encourage you to pass HB830, move it forward, and let us have the opportunity to use fibers that are made right here in our own state.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the witness?